Hi everyone, my name is Owen McGab and welcome to HYVA. And what I do here is I go out there looking for successful entrepreneurs that we can learn from their their successes as well as the challenges that they've had running their business, and we can apply that in our business. And today I have you're going to help me with the last name because I don't want to butcher the last name, but Joe Gascoigne from bufferapp.com.
Yeah.
And
it's Gascoigne.
I pronounced it correctly, right?
It's Gascoigne.
Yeah. And the reason I have him on the show is because, we always, there is this whole process of, going out there and basically starting your, just going for your idea and just starting it and just iterating as you go. And it's called, the lean startup methodology, where basically you get a minimum viable product or service and just, put it out there, launch it, and, see what the feedback you get from the people that use your product. And you continuously basically change your business model as you go and until you find what works. And I figure, why don't I get someone on here who has done it in their business to learn how exactly they do it, how exactly they did it in their business, so that we can learn from him. So, Joe, go ahead, introduce yourself to the community.
Cool. Thanks, Owen. Real pleasure to be on here. So I'm Joel, and basically I've had a few different startup ideas so far. Some have not worked at all. Some have had like a mild, success. And my current startup is called Buffer, and Buffer basically lets you tweet more without annoying your followers. So, for example, if you're reading the news in the morning and you want to, you find 10 articles you want to share, instead of sharing them all at once and flooding your followers, you can just tweet one of them and add the rest to Buffer. And then Buffer will spread them out throughout the day. So, yeah, I've had, I've kind of been there with working on an idea for a good year and a half, that's kind of didn't get that far, and having to work on the side while I was doing it and just struggling there. And I launched Buffer 5 months ago, and since then I've been able to quit my freelance work completely. I was working 5 days a week when I first had the idea. And now I'm working full-time on Buffer and just loving every day. So, just really happy to be on here and to share kind of how I've, built it over the last 5 months.
Definitely. And one of the reasons why, I want us to, share with entrepreneurs listening to this interview, this whole idea of lean startup methodology is because, people have ideas, but then they get bogged down by trying to research the idea, analysis paralysis to figure, is this going to work, trying to figure out what features they need to have in there. And then there's this whole school of thought that just says just start something and the most minimum viable product and just put it out there and see if it sticks. And so my goal with having you on this interview is really to share with us how exactly you implemented that in your business. So now you got the idea, what did you do next?
Okay, yeah, so I had this idea, which was basically I saw there's lots of other kind of scheduling apps out there. So things like TweetDeck and Hootsuite, they already had scheduling built into them. But with those ones, you had to specify the time for every single tweet. So every time you wanted to schedule a tweet, you'd have to say, okay, it's going to go out on this day at this time. And I found myself scheduling quite a lot throughout the day, and I was like, it got to the point where I was writing down a list of okay, I've scheduled one for this time, and I kind of wanted to just be consistently tweeting, right? So I had this idea, try and make scheduling a bit simpler. So you choose your times once, and they're daily times, and you just add your tweets into this queue, and they go out automatically. And that was the idea, really, really simple idea. So what I did as soon as I had the idea was, actually, I kind of did it wrong. So, because I'm a developer, naturally, I jumped in and started coding. And then, because of my experience of working, a year and a half on a previous startup, and I'd been reading all these lean startup, all these different articles by Eric Ries and, people like Ash Maurya as well. And I kind of stopped at that moment. I kind of stopped myself, and I kind of said, what am I doing? I need to validate this idea before I jump in and start building it. And that's the point when I kind of started to change things and trying to really put into practice all of these different ideas. So the first thing I did at that point was I basically just put up a landing page. But this landing page what it did was it described what the product would be. And it basically looked like it already existed, and it had a pricing and plans button right there. So you come to the site, you think the product exists,
okay,
and so and so people come to it, and then they would click the pricing and plans button, and then the next page it would just say, "Oh, sorry, we're not quite ready yet. Do you want to just put your email in this box, and we'll get back to you as soon as it's ready."
Wow, people would put their name and email even though you're telling them the product is not ready. What was the incentive? Was there like an incentive to them to actually do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the incentive was that they'd seen the first page and they actually kind of, they liked the sound of the app. They wanted this app themselves, and that was the key really, because you want the emails from people who are, you want that validation to know that they potentially would have actually signed up, because the aim of that page was that was the smallest thing I could do to work out whether anyone wanted this idea. So if I'd done it and I'd got no emails at all, then that would have been the first thing I needed to change, right? And that would be no different if I'd built the whole product, because there still has to be a landing page, right?
Definitely.
But it's just worth doing it that way, so you can find out as quickly as possible whether you need to change that landing page.
And I like that, because some people might just go ahead and just work on the whole idea, build out everything, and you said no, you want to implement this whole lean methods of creating a startup. Is just figure out if this is actually valid. And so before you had the idea, right? But then now you were trying to find out if people actually have need for it. But I'm trying to figure out how exactly did you connect people who had need to it to the website in the first place? Because until you built the page, nobody knew about you. So there had to be some kind of marketing to get people to even validate, help you validate if this product even makes sense in the first place, right? So help us connect that dot. How did you do that?
Yeah. Let me connect that. So I think I was probably a little bit lucky, and based on what I'd done previously with my previous startup, and I'd been on Twitter for about a year and a half. So that was basically it, because in that year and a half I'd been fairly vocal with my tweets, tweeting about startup stuff and programming and all these different topics. And I basically built up, I think I had 1,700 followers by the time kind of I had my idea and I put this landing page together. So my kind of marketing, it was nothing fancy. I literally just put a few tweets out, and every so often I'd just put a tweet out, and that was it really. And there was a 7-week period from when I first had the idea, and then kind of a week or two after I had the idea, I put this landing page together, and then I got some validation and I started working on the product. And I launched 7 weeks later, and in that time I collected 120 emails. So just through Twitter, and that was perfect. So I think we live in great times, because you really can get a lot just from Twitter and Facebook and these kind of things.
So on Twitter, you just told everybody, hey, so I guess you already had spent the time to create kind of a following, or people engaging with you on Twitter. So anyone listening to this, it's kind of you're basically trying to leverage your already established network in the first place, and try and drive them to your service or tool that you're trying to validate if there is actually need for this in the first place. That's what you did.
Yeah, exactly, and that I think that's the thing that I would say to anyone that's, whether you kind of have an idea right now or maybe you don't have an idea yet, but just to be working on, on Twitter and building that up, it can really benefit you when it comes to that time.
And so I guess you were sending them regular tweets in the day, say, hey, I have this new idea, come and check it out, see if it's for you. Yeah, especially since you were on Twitter and you were building a tool that was basically to be used by people who actively use Twitter. So I guess looking at it, you're going to say, okay, whatever kind of service or tool that you're going to create, you're going to find places where people, you're most likely clients or customers, where they hang out, and go there and try and get them to check out the tool. I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and for other products, maybe it'll be Facebook groups, or you can, there's all sorts of forums out there. I think there's a lot of places you can go to try and find these people. But the key is to get this landing page up early without the product existing, and then find out where these people are and just ask them. It's this simple thing. I'm working on this. What do you think of it? Kind of thing.
And so, what did this landing page like? Take us back to when you built the page. What did it look like? What was the look and feel? So we can get an idea.
It was really, really bare. It was literally, I had a heading which was tweet more consistently with buffer. I think that was my first headline that I tried out, and I literally had a step 1, step 2, step 3 on the page, and that explained how it would work. So it was like step 1, sign up. Step 2, choose the times that you want to tweet each day, and then step 3, just add the tweets to your buffer, and that was it. And then, so I had step 1, step 2, step 3 on the left-hand side, and then I just had my pricing and plans button on the right, and that was it. There's nothing else to it.
And so when they click on the pricing and plan, it takes them to the next page. Were you asking them as a result of entering their name and email? Were you asking them for any input or feedback as to what they want the tool to do for them? I'm just trying to figure out.
Okay. So that was the feedback was another key part. So how I did that was the next page. It just said, sorry, it said, oh, we're not quite ready yet. Just put your email in, and we'll let you know when we are. And as soon as they put their email in, I sent them an automatic email.
Okay.
But it came from my own email address, right? And I said in the email, like, this is my email, so just reply. And what I did was I basically explained the idea further. So I kind of gave them a glimpse on the landing page, and then I went into a bit more detail. So that was kind of like just giving them a bit more. And then I kind of finished the email with like something along the lines of, to make this idea work, I really need your input. Because I really want to create something that's going to be really, of value to you. So please get in touch with me. This is my real email address. Just hit reply. And that was a key part because I did get a lot of conversations going back and forth on the email, which really helped me to tweak a few things and validate what this needed to do.
And I'm curious though, weren't you worried that by putting up a page and people going on there thinking that it's actually available and trying, clicking on the pricing and page and then finding out, this guy doesn't even have this thing up yet. Weren't you worried that it's gonna be bad for branding or people are gonna be all complaining and stuff like that? Did you think about that?
I think that's something that is, it's easy to kind of see it that way, but I've found both back then and even now, like, if you put something out there that's not ready and then you genuinely show, say to people, I need your help with this to shape it into something that's going to be really valuable, then, and even, it can be a similar thing if you put something out and there's a few bugs here and there and they help you, to spot them, they kind of get that feeling that they're really contributing to this. And, if they feel like they've had an impact and they've caused you to change something or, helped you find a bug and you fixed it or whatever, like, they really feel part of that. And I think in general users are very forgiving, especially at the start, because the kind of people you're probably going to get as like, the early adopter types generally. So I've found that it can actually be an advantage to have a few bugs here and there, or or not be quite ready with things, because you can really start to trigger off that community.
Definitely. So you basically, by requiring that feedback from them, from the early adopters, you're basically helping to build kind of like the brand evangelists, or people that are going to be actively talking about the product, even when when you start building upon the feedback you're getting from them. So I'm curious, you start getting this feedback. Tell us more about the feedback that you got from them and how exactly it helped you guide you from your original idea to now where the product is. So share some of those feedback with us.
Yeah. So one of the most interesting things was that I realized fairly early on, due to getting this feedback, that I wasn't the message I was putting out on the landing page. We weren't explaining the product well enough. So some people just didn't understand what it was going to do. And that was the key bit of learning in the early stages of getting that feedback. And we got that through Twitter and through the email and also through Facebook groups. So like there was some Facebook groups for social media, and that was really good because you can put a status there and then different people can all reply into the same status, so you can really get some good conversations going on there. That was the key thing really, and I mean apart from that, I think maybe I was a bit lucky, but people really kind of wanted this product. So I think another key thing is that I've seen with other people trying to get their startup off the ground is that if you just work on developing something for months and months and you don't get any feedback, it can be really demotivating. But if you get one or two people saying like, "Oh, I like that idea, I really can't wait to use it," then that can just really motivate you to get it done and get it out there and ready for people to use.
And I'm curious because one of the things I try and do in my interviews is when a guest like you says something, I always want to make sure that you back it up by something that is concrete, so that because stories help to make points clear. So we had said that you actually had a message of what the tool will do, kind of like a headline of what the tool is about. But then when you start getting feedback, you're finding out people don't understand. So walk us between the initial message you had and how that feedback you got from them help you shape the headline or the message of what the tool does to make it clearer now to them.
Yeah. So originally it was the message was tweet more consistently with Buffer, right? And we had like a a 3-step thing of like sign up, choose your times, and then add tweets. And in my mind, I thought that made sense. But people weren't getting that. So we tried all sorts of different things. We tried different headlines. We tried vague things like Buffer is a smarter way to tweet, and then we tried using the word scheduling. Buffer is a smarter. It's like we tried to use something like with Buffer you don't need to schedule, because it's like scheduling without having to schedule each tweet. But we realized all these things weren't working out, because we realized people don't care about consistency as such. But we found that what really worked for us is this idea of not flooding your followers. So you find 5, 6, 7 articles at once when you're doing your reading the news in the morning. That was the thing that's really worked for us, which is, people like that idea that they can kind of, because people like to batch their work throughout the day, right? So it's like, there's this whole thing of like, try and do your emails in this time, read your news in this time. And so people like that because people read their news normally like in the morning, and now they can add, 10 tweets to their buffer and we spread them out throughout the day. So that's the thing that's really worked for us.
So basically, you found that the pain point people really had was not really scheduling, because they could schedule it with other tools that are available. But what the pain point they had was they didn't want to, basically overcrowd or overwhelm their readers, and so they wanted a means in which when they find all the tweets they want to put tweet out for the day, they can put into the tool, and you guys automatically using your algorithm or your system, populate their tweet stream so that it comes out and it doesn't look like it's all at once. And it allows the readers to use. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think in some ways that was like, it was turning something that wasn't necessarily a pain point. So it was like, to tweet consistently is something that, you could probably, if I say to you, like to tweet consistently is a good thing, you probably agree with that. If you want to do well with your business, you probably want to have tweets going out on a consistent basis. But people just weren't relating that as a pain point. And as soon as we turned it around and said, you might actually be causing pain on your followers by flooding them with 5 tweets at once, that was immediately like, they're like, whoa, I don't want to cause pain on my followers. I don't want to do that to them. So I think that was a really interesting thing, because I think if you can turn something, make it seem like a real pain, I think that can really work really well, and it's worked well for us.
So continue with this. We're now getting feedback. We're trying to get the story completed. So you're getting feedback from the people who want to find out more about what your tool is all about, and then continue with the story.
Okay, yeah. So basically, I had people. I was also measuring the metrics of how many people hit the landing page, and then how many people give me their email, and there was another step, which was as soon as I'd had quite a few people putting their email in for that initial stage of landing page, and then oops, we're not ready yet. I added another stage in the middle, which was to test the pricing, right? So I tested that there was demand for the product. Now I wanted to test, like, okay, fair enough, people want to use it, but will they actually pay for this? So I added a page in the middle, which changed it so that the flow was, you hit the landing page, and then the next page was the pricing page. And it still looked like the product existed. So it kind of lengthened that process. And there was 3 pricing plans, and they had to choose one of them. And then once they chose one of them, then it said, oh, we're not quite ready yet.
Okay.
And I tracked which pricing plan they chose, and that kind of thing. And that helped me to work out whether people might actually pay for this. And
so when I think of pricing plans and like web apps, I'm thinking like you have a pricing plan, but then you say this amount of features are allowed for this pricing, and this other amount of features are so basically you're telling them that the more features they want, the more it's going to cost them. And so you say you're trying to test to see what pricing people would like. What were on that pricing page? Were you telling them that there's a certain amount of features that will get paid each price, or I'm trying to figure out how that helped you with your analysis. Yeah,
it was a full pricing, and it was the pricing that I actually launched with. So I had to bite the bullet at some point and decide what features were going to go and what the pricing was going to be. We had a $5 plan and a $20 plan. You have to make that decision at some point. I did have some emails back and forth when I had that first stage with just the landing page.
Yeah.
And that helped me to kind of gauge what people might pay. So, I did literally ask people like, is this something you would pay for? Because I had a few people saying, I really like this idea. And then I asked a few people whether they would pay. And you get mixed responses to that. So you can't rely 100% on knowing for sure what your pricing should be, or you have to kind of take that jump at some point.
And so at this point where you're taking the jump, you now put up a third the point in before. It was just straight from the landing page to the email point where they enter the email. Now you put the pricing page in there, and so you give them a bunch of different pricing. And so how did you use that data itself when you start seeing the results coming in?
Okay, yeah, so I still got the emails coming through, and I still triggered, those conversations were triggering off on the emails, which was really useful. And then as well as that, I was tracking how many people hit the landing page, and then how many of them give me their email, and how many of those people that gave me their email clicked on the free plan, how many clicked on the $5, the middle plan, and how many clicked on the $20. And, most people clicked on the free, but I did have a few clicking on the $5, and maybe one, or I don't know, I can't quite remember, but I definitely had people that were clicking on the paid plans, and that was kind of enough validation for me to think, okay, I don't know for sure, but it seems like now it's worth giving it a shot. So that's the point when I decided, right, I'm gonna do this now.
That's awesome. I mean, I like that you actually backed your idea by actually getting data. I'm curious, what tool exactly did you use to do the tracking of people landing on the page?
Okay, yeah. I used a couple. There's one called Mixpanel, which is really good, and there's one called Kissmetrics, which is also really good. And they both, I mean, you can have things like Google Analytics, which it's worth putting Google Analytics on your page, but I'd say Mixpanel and Kissmetrics are the ones that will really help you focus just on those metrics that really matter for you at that stage.
So with Mixpanel, you kind of set it up so that it tracks certain events. In your case, from landing to actually giving me more email from. Help me explain the events that you had so that we can back what you say.
Okay. Yes. So you just put a bit of code in, and then you can specify the events. So I had viewed the landing page, was one event, and then viewed the sign-up page was another one, and then given me their email. That was another one. So it was kind of like 3 steps there. And then when I had the pricing in place, I had viewed landing page, and then another step, viewed pricing page, and then viewed the email page, I guess, yeah, and then given me their email. So, and then with Mixpanel, it's quite cool because for each event you can, I think you can specify a type, or I could put in that pricing plan just as a type for each event. So that it let me filter it in the Mixpanel dashboard to say, okay, show me the funnel, and then filter it by, show me who clicked the free and who clicked the $5 plan and that kind of thing.
Wow, man! I mean, it's just so awesome that technology just allows one to to see so many, and it all boils down to being able to see the numbers behind your ideas, and I love how you use Mixpanel to do that. And I'm curious, Kisspanel, what am I saying? Kissmetrics is another tool.
Yeah.
But how did you use Kissmetrics? So
Kissmetrics is more useful for really analyzing. You can get some really good analysis of the actual funnel. So you can it shows you clearly that you've had X number 100 people view the landing page, and then 23 people viewed the sign up page or something, and it shows you where you're losing where you're losing people along that funnel. Because I think what could be useful is, I was quite lucky because people did actually put their email in and that kind of thing, but if you don't get any people giving you their email, if you don't have these kind of metrics, it's hard to know whether that's because you're not driving enough traffic to the page, or whether it's because people just don't get it or don't want the product. And I think that's quite a key thing to try and differentiate. Because I was fairly lucky because I have my Twitter following, so I could just tweet it and get a few people going through. But if you have to try, maybe if it's a bit more effort to get these first few visitors, it's useful to have something like Mixpanel or Kissmetrics to work out how many people actually hit that landing page and that kind of thing. Yeah.
And this point you just made me, you just brought me to, now I'm stuttering because I'm so excited. You can see, the reason I'm even I'm doing this interview is because I want to learn as much of how you did it so I can implement it for certain things I have in my business. And back to the 2 questions I have, you said that, using these tools, you're able to identify certain things as to how, where people are leaving your page and stuff like that. How did you use that information? I'm curious.
Yeah, well, I think in the early stage it's not quite as useful, but once you start to get more traffic, that can be really handy. So, kind of fast forward to today, we're getting a bit more traffic now, so we're kind of getting maybe 100 sign-ups a day. So we can start to play around, and maybe you can do something like split testing, where I can have 2 different versions of the landing page. Maybe I tweak the wording, or maybe I change the colour of a button or something like that. And I can basically say, 50% of people view one of them, and 50% of people see this new version with a bigger button or whatever. And then you can actually gradually kind of work out, ways to improve your landing page that makes it convert better. So I think that can be really useful, but I tried doing that in the early stages, and I'd say it's better to focus on the kind of qualitative feedback instead of quantitative in the early stage. So getting those email conversations going and just talking to people in a forum or on Facebook groups or something like that, or even asking people if they're willing to have a Skype call with you. We did that a couple of times as well. That real kind of direct feedback is much more useful in the early stages.
And can you give several examples of what you learned during those live feedback that you Skype calls that you do with some people? Yeah.
So I had one Skype call, but that was after we'd actually launched, and it was with a lady, and it kind of, she wasn't the most tech savvy people, but that really helped me to understand how we could improve the sign up process. So. We could guide them through that a bit better. So that's something we've improved a lot since Buffer was first launched. So to begin with, it kind of just threw them in there, whereas now it's kind of like, okay, now you need to connect your Twitter account, and then, you know, we've given you these times or whatever. Whereas at the beginning, it was like, just put them in a screen and there's like, you know, 10 different options on the screen, and they kind of had to work out how to put all the pieces together.
And before I let you go, I have two more questions, because I know you have something to do next. And
Nice.
the thing is you had this whole following of people on Twitter, and so it was easier for you to get people to come and you know, show that interest in your tool. But let's say someone doesn't even have that kind of connection in the first place, and they just have this idea that they want to apply this whole principle of minimum viable product and lean startup methodology too. What ideas and tips do you have for them to, you know, find people to come on and try and see if this is a viable product in the first place?
Yeah. I think in some ways it depends on what the you know, what space the idea is in, you know, what niche it is. But kind of putting that aside, I think there's some really great community sites out there. So you got things like Hacker News, and you can sign up to that, participate for a little while, you know, vote up a few things, and then once you've, you know, been on there for a week or two, you can post something on there saying ask HN, and you can ask for feedback. And there's some really top guys on Hacker News, and so that's definitely one that's worth checking out. But I think there's also there's one called Forest for developers and designers. I found that one really useful because I'm primarily a developer, and you know, I just get by on the design side of things. So I've been posting my designs up there when they're kind of like half done and saying, you know, I'm not quite happy with this, I want to tweak this, can you help me out? So that was good. And then I'd say Facebook groups is probably a good one, because I think there's enough open Facebook groups out there that you can just search and find one that's, you know, in the right space for you. We found a really good social media group on Facebook, and, you know, just get to know people a bit first, because you want to be genuine about it, and you want to try and, you know, just get involved in the conversations that they're already having, and then kind of, you know, once that you've got their trust a bit, they're going to be willing to help you. So you just, you know, let them know you've got this idea. What do they think, basically?
So what I get from what you say is, whatever your idea or tool or service or product is, find niche communities online that are already kind of related to what you're looking to deliver, and then go on there, engage with them first, and then invite them to come and, you know, see if what you have is, you know, something that they might consider even paying for or even using. I get that's the point you're making on that.
Yeah, exactly, definitely. And I think, like, just related to that, I think there's definitely got to be quite a focus on that side of things, like the getting in touch with people, getting feedback, and the kind of marketing kind of side. Because I think, I don't know, for me, it's really easy for me to just, you know, get stuck into my code and get coding away. And I think that might be similar for other people out there that have ideas. But it really is important to kind of actually get in touch with people, and I think the main thing is that you want to treat your idea as a hypothesis, and you want to test whether, you know, that hypothesis is correct, or whether it needs to change a little bit. And the way that you're going to test it is to actually just go and ask people.
And one thing you said earlier on during our discussion was that you've implemented this whole thing now, and now you've learned something that, you know, new, that you can, if you're going to do a new idea, that you can actually implement in the next idea, or you know, even, right? So what are those things that you learned after implementing the whole process of lean startup that you want to share with us?
So I just wrote a blog post a few days ago, and it's called "How to Start a Startup in 4 Steps," basically. And this is kind of based on my learning from my previous startup and then my current startup, how I would approach things if I had a new idea. So I'd say step 1 is to actually have the idea. But I think the key thing with the idea part of it is not to put too much focus on the actual idea itself. So Buffer was a tiny idea when I first had it, and you know, we've grown it, and I think once you get the users using your product, like, the idea really can grow into something much bigger. So having the idea is the first step, and if you don't have an idea, I'd say the best thing is to just kind of become aware of your daily activities and trying to like kind of consciously be aware of the things that you're doing that maybe could be a little bit more efficient, or you get rid of a pain somewhere. And I think that's a way if you don't have an idea. And then step 2 is, once you've got your idea, to cut it down. So like cut it down as much as you possibly can. You really want to launch with the very smallest things. So like with Buffer, it's a Twitter app. One of the natural things was to be able to have multiple Twitter accounts on there, manage multiple accounts, have team members, have analytics. There's all these different things that I could have had, but I put it out there with something that was tiny and really buggy as well. And that, I think that's the second step, is to really cut the idea down into something small. And then the third step is to actually share the idea and get the feedback. And that really is, I'd say that's probably one of the steps that sometimes people just miss out completely, and they just develop for months on end, and then they reach a point where like, oh, we're ready to launch, but you want to be getting the feedback all the way along. You don't want to, I'm not a huge fan of the idea of like a big launch that's like a one-time thing. I think it's better if you just do things gradually. And then, yeah, my fourth step was just to kind of go with your gut from there. So I think if you've got that far and you've had your idea, you've cut it down, and you've got talking to the people, once you're at that stage, and people give you some feedback and you change your idea as it needs to change, then I think you really you're at a good place then, and you'll be able to put together that first version and just keep iterating. Wow.
I like the way you just summarized the whole process into these different steps. And I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview. We're all busy, and I'm always trying to find out from entrepreneurs. We're all busy. Why even take the time to even have such a discussion with me in the first place?
That's a good question. Like the thing for me is, I've had help from other people, and the thing I really love about startups and entrepreneurship is there really is this culture of just everyone's on the everyone's just trying to get by and make something work. And one of the things I find is that a lot of the time you have there's people at conferences and things, and these are the guys that have exited for millions, and they're doing pretty well. And a lot of the time I find that it's more inspirational, and when they're giving a talk at a conference or something like that, and the inspiration's good, but I think it's really useful to be in touch with someone that's not made it, not got that far yet, but is just at the early stages. And I've only been going 6 months with this idea, and I'm just now quit my work and I'm working on it full time, and I feel like I can really help people. And I don't think there's not much out there for the guys that are just trying to get going with their first idea. And also, like, I mean, I'm always like, I really enjoy chatting to people about their ideas, and I learn so much, because if I do something like this and I explain to you how I've done things, then it just becomes clearer in my own mind. And that's one of the reasons why I blog as well, because if I get it out there, get it down in a blog post, it just suddenly becomes clearer. And that's why it was so easy for me to explain those 4 steps to you, because I just blogged that in my own blog. So.
Definitely. And just so that people can get a hold of you, how best can my community contact you? How can they do that?
Yeah. So definitely check out my blog, which is joel.is, so joel.is. And my email is just me@joel.is. So yeah, I literally welcome anyone to just send me a quick email, let me know what they're up to, and if I can help, then I definitely will.
And everyone, don't forget to check out Buffer app, for especially those of you who are using Twitter. Check it out and let me know how you what you think about it.
Yeah. Cheers, Owen.
We're done. Thanks for doing the interview. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
So what do you think?
Really.
So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I really want to know what exactly you think. I mean, if I suck and if I'm not doing a good job, I want to know, because by your input and your comments, your suggestions, your feedback, that's how I'm going to improve on the entire package of what I'm sharing with you. I really want to improve so that you know that your time is well spent when you watch my videos. And if I do good on interviews, and if you like certain things I do, please let me know so I can even improve upon that as well. And I want to thank you really, because your time is well spent, and I mean your time is important to me, and I want to make sure that I continuously put this information in front of you. So I want you to join my community. And in order to do that, you need to click on the link that says get the free ebook, enter in your name and email, and you will receive as a gift from me my free ebook titled The Entrepreneur's Guide to Running a Business in the Cloud. The reason I do that is because I want to share with you that information. You can check it out and make use of it in your business. In the same vein, I will be sending you email updates every time I have new blog posts, as well as if I have new stuff that is not even on the blog I want to share with you. That way we can stay in contact. One more thing, before you go, I want to also let you know that if you are really serious about finding, hiring, training, and even working with virtual assistant, if right now you want to get that started, why don't you sign up for my free webinar where I share everything about the entire process. And you can get to do that by clicking on the link on the very top of my blog where it says sign up for the free webinar. Again, thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you next time.